Let's recap Sunday's action next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers here with Adam Azer to break down Sunday's action from Week 13. I just want to say thanks to Adam for filling in while I was away dealing with a little health scare over the last week. I really appreciate that, Adam. But
I'm happy to have Chris back. Chris is back. Hooray!
Was that a sound you're playing, or was that my computer? So okay, that was kind of scary.
Yeah, sorry about that. You're all
sounds like a poltergeist or something.
all good.
But I am back, and we're going to talk about Sunday's action from Week 13, and we've got to start with a whole bunch of injuries, especially at the quarterback position. We'll start with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's out for the season with what Kyle Shanahan referred to as a couple of breaks in his foot. He's going to require surgery. Kyle Shanahan, after Sunday's game against the Dolphins, also reiterated that they don't expect Trey Lance to come back from his ankle injury at any point this season. So they're going to move forward with 2022's Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy and potentially Josh Johnson, who they signed off the Broncos waiver or practice squad. But obviously, I don't think you want either of those guys, but clear downgrade for the rest of the 49ers offense, right?
Except for McCaffrey. I think Purdy is just going to look and lean on McCaffrey in the passing game. It was an amazing game for him with 8 catches for 80 yards and a receiving touchdown. I will absolutely be putting in claims for Purdy in our Superflex League, our 12-team Superflex League. I would start him over Russell Wilson, who's on my team, for example. But yeah, for the other guys, I think it stinks. I think maybe Debo, they can get creative with him. They seem to really manufacture touches for him. He had 4 carries. He only went for 5 yards, but he might be okay. I'm not saying the other guys are going to stink, but it's just like it was unpredictable enough and frustrating enough as it was. It's going to be worse now. And I think you go into the week thinking I'd like to get away from Debo, Ayuk, and if possible, Kittle.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to get away from Kittle. One guy that I might start over George Kittle this week might be Greg Dulcich, who the Broncos really made a point of getting going this week. He had Russell Wilson's first 3 targets. He had 6 catches for 85 yards. Cortland Sutton left with a hamstring injury. That's another injury we'll talk about. And Jerry Jeudy's still limited with that ankle. So, I do think there's a chance Greg Dulcich could be a top 10 tight end for me in Week 14. Some of the other injuries we need to know about: Lamar Jackson, given a days to weeks timetable by John Harbaugh. So not a season ender, but I'm kind of assuming he's not going to play in Week 14. And given the fact that we have 6 teams on bye, it's not the best crop of quarterbacks on bye, but given that and the injuries, Tyler Huntley might be in the top 12 conversation for me for Week 14. He's averaged 17.2 fantasy points per game in the games that Lamar Jackson missed last season, including one where he played, I think, 4 snaps. So I think Tyler Huntley could be useful. His rushing production, especially, he's a pretty natural fit in that offense. What do you think of Tyler Huntley?
Well, the average is great, but he had a game with 40 fantasy points against the Packers. That was his only good game, really. And that's amazing considering he rushed. So he basically played 5 games. 4 of them were starts. I'm just looking at the 5 games where he had, 31 or more pass attempts. So he played almost all or all.
86% of the snaps in all 5 of those games.
There you go. He had 40 or more rushing yards in each game. So all he has to do is be a competent passer because he's got, 60 rushing yard upside, but he wasn't really that. So I'm not that interested in him, even though there are 6 teams on bye, not a lot of good quarterbacks. It's just Fields and Rodgers that you're really trying to replace next week. The interesting thing is Mark Andrews averaged 100 yards per game with him last year, with Huntley last year. I don't think that's coming back, but I don't think you have to be, it's nothing like the Kittle situation. I'm not sure it's a major downgrade for Andrews. He's been struggling a bit lately anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's 100% healthy, but he did have a 28% target share from Tyler Huntley last season. So not concerned there. We also had Tua Tagovailoa leave with an ankle injury after the game. He told reporters he's okay. Trevor Lawrence left. I actually don't think he missed a snap with the knee injury, but that's something to keep an eye on. We've seen guys play through injuries and then end up missing time. Some of the other injuries we'll be watching heading into Week 14, Kenneth Walker with an ankle, Aaron Jones with a shin. Jones tried to play through that injury in the second half, but I think he only played 2 second-half snaps, so clearly wasn't able to go. Treylon Burks suffered a concussion. Cortland Sutton with that hamstring injury, like I said. And Jalen Waddle, another one who played through a leg injury, but clearly wasn't 100%, seemed to limp off at one point in the second half. So that's something to keep an eye on. We're going to go to a winner and loser from this game. But first, I just want to ask real quick with, Christian Watson, he's on a bye in Week 14, so you don't have to make the decision. But at this point, is Christian Watson, he's not going to keep scoring 2 touchdowns every week. I think that's fair to say. But you just start him every week. You just don't worry about the matchups and you don't worry about anything else. You just, Is he someone that you just put in your lineup? The big playability just makes him too valuable to consider sitting?
I don't know. He's going to have to get more than 6 targets a game. There's just really nobody that can do this well on 6 targets a game. But I'd like to believe in him, and I'd like to believe that he's going to get more targets. That's kind of my thing. Is I'm thinking that after the bye week, down the stretch, as long as Aaron Rodgers is playing, that he's going to get more targets and he's going to really become the number 1 wide receiver. So I am going to approach him as a must start guy, at least as a number 3 receiver, a borderline number 2, but he does need more targets or he could become a little disappointing.
I think it could be similar to Gabe Davis, where, it looked like he was going to be a must start guy. And I think he probably should just be in your lineup most weeks. You just have to be careful with this kind of player, prominently downfield targets, not a huge target share, that, there's going to be some weeks where they disappoint, but the upside makes it worth it. All right, Adam, give me one quick winner from week 13.
Well, I'll just tie it into an injury. It's Geno Smith. He went into today's game 14th in pass attempts, but 5th or 6th in passing yards. This game, he threw the 2nd most passes of the season if Ken Walker misses any time. And we actually get to see Geno Smith throw the ball 35 or more times per game.
Let Geno cook.
Let him cook. And then, they just don't have a running game if Ken Walker can't be there. So he is playing at an MVP, almost MVP caliber level. He's just not throwing as much as everybody else. This could be league winning potential for him and Metcalf and Lockett if Walker's out for an extended period.
Yeah, DJ Dallas also briefly left this game with an ankle injury. He was actually ruled doubtful at halftime to return. And then I think Tony Jones left with an injury and DJ Dallas had to play. So yeah, they're pretty beat up at running back. I think Travis Homer was also out of this game. Let's get a loser for week 13.
I'll take Juju Smith-Schuster. It's 2 bad games in a row coming back from the injury. He barely played last week. He played enough this week. Mahomes had a bad game. So when that happens and a top wide receiver has a bad game with him, it doesn't really shock me. But you look at the whole season, it's basically been like 3 games where we've been really excited, really.
And he broke like a random 30 or 40 yard touchdown, like each of those 3 games.
At least 2. Yeah. So I'm not hating him, but he's a number 3 receiver. He's not a number 2 anymore.
Yeah, even when things were going well for Juju, he was still more like a 19 to 18% target share guy. And so, one of his big games was when the Chiefs threw it 68 times, I think. It was like the 3rd most pass attempts in a game ever. So, there were some fluky signs at the time. I agree he's probably a wide receiver 3, maybe a little lower in non-PPR, but still someone who most weeks is probably going to be in your lineup. I'd rather start Christian Watson and chase the upside moving forward, though, at least, after week 14 and the bye gets out of the way. So that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll be back tomorrow to break down Monday Night Football, talk about the top waiver wire claims for week 14. For Adam Azer, I'm Chris Towers. We'll see you then.